Hello everyone, I'm Extra Cheesy 87 and this is Let's Play Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney Trials and Tribulations Part 13. In the previous video, we encountered our first real bit of complete and total fucking nonsense, where I knew exactly what the game wanted me to present, but the game would not let me present it until I still don't know what the hidden criteria was for what lets you point out that the photo was false, because it seems like, because even looking back, it's not pressing the statement twice in a row, because we did that, and it didn't change. It only changed after we failed to present an accomplice, which doesn't make any sense. There's no way the game's that dumb. I refuse to believe it's actually that stupid. I guess it has to do with, like, maybe when you cycle through, because, like, we were saving and reloading. Maybe that messed things up. I don't know. Maybe each time you reload, you have to cycle through all the dialogue again before the second press will let you bring up the photo. No, why it won't just let you bring up the photo immediately? Because it lets you do that for the accomplice. It makes no sense. Because, like, the idea behind that section is good, you know, presenting that there's two avenues. It's either, you know, he had an accomplice or the photo is fake and letting you potentially explore, is good. But then you hide the photo aspect behind hidden dumb game criteria that you can't figure out, so you're just left, well, the only thing the game was letting me do is present an accomplice even though I have no evidence, so it funnels you to that option instead of trying to do the photo thing, which makes sense, and you're like, I know that's what they want me to do, I know that's the answer, but I don't know how to get there. Oh, just paint, and peach colored at that. Peach? Have you ever seen a peach, dude? From blood to peaches, the judge sure loves going on his wild tangent. What? Our judge and wild tangents related to food? That couldn't be. The problem with this photograph is not the paint. The problem is when you consider the layout of the basement warehouse. It turns out that something that should be there is nowhere to be seen. Well, Mr. Wright, what is supposed to be in this picture instead of the paint stains? Supervisor of the treasure exhibited stated the following. Well, there's a good reason for that. On the day of the crime around noon, the golden statue just happened to arrive from the mountain training hall. I realized that the statue would be a perfect size for covering up the paint stains. That's why I put it where you first saw it. I myself was there the night the theft took place and saw the statue in that spot. If this picture was truly taken on that night, then that statue should have been there. It's got rolling wheels, dude. It obviously just rolled away. But when I went there the day after the theft, that statue of the old bag was sitting in the corner. Perhaps it was somehow pushed there accidentally. Also, old bag. Those words, they send shivers down my spine. Your Honor, this statue is slightly larger than yourself and quite heavy. It would take more than an accidental push to move it that distance. Wheels, Phoenix Wright. In that case, it does have wheels, right? Like, I'm not crazy. Can you give us the rhyme and reason as to why that statue was moved that night? Can you do it, Nick? Never mind who moved it. The real question is, why did they move it? Well, Mr. Wright, I hope you're prepared with your answer. Now then, who was the one that moved that golden statue the night of the crime? I don't know, I don't know why Adrian would do it, but he's the only one that makes sense to me? What do you... Okay, never mind. A man should be able to answer his own question, or was it Atmey? Did he do it by mistake, I guess? I don't know. Well, I guess because he was trying to get the sword, right? Because the sword was used. So maybe that's it. Yeah, that makes sense. Right now I'm busy trying to come up with two answers of my own. Why is coffee black? And why is it bitter? Mr. Wright, to put it simply, you've messed up! What are you doing, Nick? You need to think about why the statue was moved. Okay. I just didn't know about, like, if the time frame lines up for well, do I present Master or do I present Atmey? I'm gonna do Atmey, but I could see it being Master. The one who moved the statue is none other than Luke Atmey. come now, sir lawyer. There you go again on one of your strange delusions. Mr. Wright, what basis do you have for your strange delusions? It's very simple. Also, my delusions aren't strange, okay? The witness was the only one in the basement warehouse that night. That is indeed very simple. However, why would I want to move a heavy golden statue? The reason for moving the golden statue, here's where our battle really begins. Well, Mr. Wright, what reason does the witness have to move that statue? The reason can be found here in this photograph. Luke Atmey, you pretended to be Master Mask to create an alibi by showing you were Lordly Taylor that night. This photograph contains a single, fatal flaw. If the statue had been there, your lie would be exposed like a cheap film at a drugstore. I don't know what the lie is. I thought it was just gonna be the sword. Had to be moved? Or he had to get the sword and then it got pushed? If the statue had been there, your lie would be exposed like a cheap film. I mean, that's why you had to move the statue. A single fatal flaw? Interesting theory. Please enlighten us. Yeah, Phoenix, go enlighten the audience, please. Just where in this picture does this lie exist? The box. The lie is Master Mask. Okay. Are you saying this Master Mask is a fake? No, I thought the box. You know, I really wish you would start acting more responsibly. Huh? The current question is, why was the golden statue moved? What possible connection could there be with Master Mask's identity? Well, I was really pointing at the box. Oh, buggers! Your face has oh buggers written all over it. That's a penalty for you. Bro, my HP. They really should just, like, highlight what is... I mean, granted, that would make it too easy, but... I mean, I've been, like, thinking the timestamp, but that doesn't make any sense, because this falls apart. Because, like, if the statue was there, that would make the timestamp seem more likely, but, like, nothing, I don't know what to select. Oh, I'm gonna hit the timestamp. I don't think this is it, but I have no clue what else to click. I mean, there's the paint, but we've already clicked the paint. Like earlier. Naturally, the lie in this photo is the timestamp. What do you mean? I'll tell you exactly what I mean. On the night in question, Luke Atmey went to KB Security and murdered Kane Bullard. Therefore, it's obvious. It would have been impossible for him to have been at Lordly Taylor at that time. Well, that doesn't... Yeah, that has nothing to do with the statue being moved at all. Remember, if you will, Your Honor, when was this statue placed beside the warehouse door? Well, the statue was taken down to the warehouse on the day of the crime, and it was placed there in order to cover up the paint. Exactly. Luke Atmey had already decided on the time when he was going to kill the victim. And so in order to create an alibi for that time, he took this picture days before the murder took place. Like, yeah, I got that, but... that doesn't explain why the statue was moved. Like, shouldn't he have not moved the statue? Well, I guess because the statue wasn't there. Okay, I kind of get it. So it's not that the statue was moved, it's that it was never there to begin with. So the question is kind of flawed. What the? Of course, the statue hadn't yet been brought down to the basement warehouse yet, but that still doesn't explain how the statue was moved, though, because we know it was moved. Ah. So on the day of the crime, Mr. Atmey must have been quite nervous. As nervous as a long-tailed cat in a rocking chair factory, so to speak. What? Why? Because something that was supposed to be there had been brought down in place where it wasn't supposed to be. And that is why Luke Atmey had to move the statue on the night of the murder. Okay, I kinda get it. I mean, it still seems like he... like, just shouldn't have... He did it to make the room match with the way it had been in the photo. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Order, order! Mr. Atmey, is this true? One moment, Your Honor. Have you forgotten this? What's that? The data for the basement warehouse computer. According to this, the camera did indeed go off on the night of the crime. It's true the camera had been set up by the Lordly Taylor's staff. However, the program used to manage that data was yours. That alone would have allowed you to tamper with the data. Ah! Order, order! Mr. Godot, what is the meaning of this? Godot, I warned you about making me wait. Now put that coffee down! My 11th cup. I've promised to drink no more than 17 during a trial, which means I'm still good to the last drop. However, the defense is a very good point. A good point? So what? We are all but travelers on a road of infinite points. I think he's got his points mixed up with the other points. So you say this photograph was taken ahead of time, and that the statue was moved in order to make it match. It's a very interesting idea. However, there's one point that can't be denied. Which is? That it's only a possibility. Men that are trapped by the chains of maybe can never reach their dreams. Bro, what the fuck are you talking about? No way, don't fall for that, Your Honor! Hey, Mr. Damask. Yes? If there's no funny business in your actions as Master Mask, there should be no problem with you telling us your strategy, so let's hear it. Yes, please provide the court with your testimony about your plan to steal the Sacred Urn. I guess we should save since we used all our HP. I first received the request from Lordly Taylor about 20 days ago. The urn was placed in a box in Zavari. It was then sent to the warehouse. Hence, I was actually unable to see the urn for myself until the day of the crime. I didn't know it was an extremely valuable treasure, so I sent my card 10 days beforehand. I then handled security by myself to ensure that my crime would go smoothly. At last, I held the urn in my hands for the first time on 1 a.m. October 12th. That's pretty much all the stuff we heard before, isn't it? Yeah, but we will find the truth hidden in the nuggets of new information he gave. Witness, you're sure there are no mistakes this time? Zavari! Very well then. Mr. Wright, you may begin your cross-examination. You were asked to guard the urn by Miss Adrian Andrews, is that right? Indeed. It seemed that they had heard of my Zavarkline reputation. I see Miss Andrews is still attracting the weirdos. You better watch out too, Maya. You mean this box? Yes, that pathetic box. Lady Andrews is especially taken with that urn. She wouldn't let anyone into the storeroom, not even me. Huh, interesting new tidbit. So you're sure that you had never seen the urn before? Indeed. You may ask Lady Andrews to confirm for yourself. My security was focused entirely on the entrance to that warehouse. However, I, Luke Atmey, let no information whatsoever slip through my fingers. Yo, we still haven't really established the whole, like, value thing, like, why steal the urn? Because we know it's, like, worth nothing? You mean this calling card? That's right! That is, without a doubt, my calling card! I guess Mr. Light didn't make this after all. Of course, because Atmey knew about the emblem. Making this card authentic would have been child's play for him. Then no one entered the basement warehouse. Unfortunately, there were many different treasures being taken there. Thus, for a period of approximately 5 days, people were indeed going in and out of the warehouse. And this is the photo that proves that, huh? Indeed, to be honest, even a photo was taken. I didn't think it would matter terribly much. Hey, Nick, if this photo's a fake, Detective Atmey might have stolen the urn whenever this was taken. That's true. No, he's been saying that he never saw the urn until that night. If we can prove that he's lying there, we can wrap this up and put a bow on it. We need to take a good, hard look at the court record. Not a lot to go on, is there? That detective's been covering his tracks. There's only one thing we need to prove in this cross-examination. That he took this photo well before the actual night of the crime. Alright then, how do we do that? There's one thing that Atmey stated very clearly. That he had never seen the urn before he stole it. We need to prove that he's lying. Okay, we have to prove that he'd seen the urn before. Take care of the speckled urn, won't you? It is not speckled pre-paint. So that's what we're supposed to do. I'm gonna press it just to see if it provides any new information first, and then we're gonna present the calling card. And this is the photo that proves that, huh? Since we can't trust the game to, like, make sense anymore. And not hide information from us. Which, I mean, granted, we could never trust the game to not do that, but... Mr. Atmey, if you really are Master Mask, and you also wrote this calling card, correct? But of course. Is there a problem with that calling card? Allow me to read a passage from the calling card that Master Mask had written. Take good care of the speckled urn. No, the speckled here. Clearly refers to this pink pattern on the Sacred Urn. Yes, that is true. But so what? Truth be told, there is no way that Master Mask could have known about this pattern. What do you mean? Why is your assistant, handling that boombox all of a sudden? This pink spotted pattern on the urn is actually nothing more than paint stains. Paint stains? And these stains did not appear until after the urn had been taken to Lordly Taylor. I'm not finding this joke to be very funny, Mr. Trite. The day that the Sacred Urn was taken to the warehouse, the urn was broken due to human error, should I say an error-prone human. And that's when the pink paint got on the urn. You can't be serious. And yet this calling card clearly mentions the paint pattern. Which means Detective Atmey had seen the urn long before the crime ever took place. In fact, he saw it when this fake photo was taken. And because this photo is a fake, your alibi for the night of the murder no longer holds water. Witness, do you have anything to say for yourself? Constipation. Alright, that did it. He's broken. Nick, I think it's still a little early for a victory pose. But no. It's so sad. No one has any conviction these days. Conviction, you say? Yesterday, we all decided unanimously that this man was Master Mask. And now we're calling him a murderer. You don't think we're being a tad fickle? That's a good point. No way, don't fall for that too, Your Honor. You said that Luke Atmey was the one who killed Kane Bullard. Let me ask you this, why would he do that? Yeah, an excellent point. Motive, Mr. Wright, motive. Might you my merry murderous motive manifest? Nick, he's getting his second wind. If he prepared an alibi and pinned his crime on Rhonda Light, as you say, he must have had a very strong motive for murder. The only one with any motive we've seen is Rhonda Light. You fool, you don't know the Blackmail Letter. Isn't that right, Detective? Indeed, according to my own research, the boy's motive is clear. Without a motive, it's nearly impossible to prove guilt in a murder case. I feel like, haven't they done that a lot in this series, where they don't provide the motive, yet they perfectly imply that someone's the killer? Now then, maybe you can enlighten us as to what the defendant's motives were. Haven't I been, like, annoyed by that in the past? I'd be honored, Sir Oldtimer. They're doing everything they can to make Ron look suspicious. Despite our lack of hard information, this may be our only chance. I, Luke Atmey, had no point of contact with the victim whatsoever. Kane Bullard decided to investigate Master Mask and simply mistook who he was. It was Mr. Bullard who wrote the Blackmail Letter and sent it to Ron Delight. And it was again Mr. Bullard who'd harbored a grudge against Mr. Delight for his betrayal. Mr. Bullard's mistake is quite excusable. The defendant truly believes he is Master Mask. And that is why Mr. Delight saw it fit to kill Kane Bullard. Truly a tragedy. So the victim, Kane Bullard, blackmailed the defendant. This is the blackmail letter found in the defendant's apartment. The handwriting test confirms that Mr. Bullard was indeed the one who wrote the letter. Yeah, we don't really know, because if it was addressed to Luke, which is the only thing that makes sense in regard to the ring, we don't know how he got it yet. Ron, that is. What? Very well, Mr. Wright. Begin your cross-examination. And who in the world is going to prove that? I will. After doing a thorough background check of Detective Atmey and Kane Bullard, we were unable to find any links between them. It's all in the report. Perhaps they were connected through their work. They were both involved in security. Nope. Oh, okay. In any case, the only one with a motive was Mr. Delight. Mistook? That's right, mistook from the old Norse mistaka, meaning to take an air. That wasn't what I meant. Just who did the victim mistake Master Mask to be? Why, the answer is obvious. Ron Delight, of course. Boy, I'd like to wipe that smug look off this guy's face. Why would the victim mistake the defendant for Master Mask? Don't you already know that? Zavoy! Take a look at this newspaper. That's the famous Tear of Aman, a magnificent jewel. That photo shows a magnificent detective as well, does it not? Furthermore, it also shows an ugly guard, namely the defendant. The defendant? The victim clearly misread the article in Zavari. He got the wrong impression. The impression that that ugly security guard was in fact Master Mask. I see. That was an unusually reasonable deduction. But like, he shouldn't know that he's the dude, right? You mean this blackmail letter right here? It says bring $50,000. And the handwriting is without a doubt the victim's. There's no mistake, we have an official report to prove it. I don't see an addressee on this letter anywhere. Yeah, he gets it. An addressee. This letter was discovered in Ron Delight's apartment, and Mr. Delight did show up at the designated place and time. The fact that there is no addressee is irrelevant. I wonder. What's up, Nick? I just had a thought. What if that blackmail letter wasn't meant for Mr. Delight? Yeah, I said that a long time ago, Phoenix. Get up with me. Whoa, do you have any evidence of that? I mean, yes? For some reason, I just can't shake the feeling that there's something not quite right about this blackmail letter. Well, everyone, are you quite satisfied? But like, do I present the blackmail letter? I don't know how to... If I press it again... No? What do you mean by that? Because, I mean, it's the diamond ring, right? The red diamond, that's our thing, but... Oh my, I was certain you're already aware. Zavai! KB Security has a lot of security info on all sorts of companies, and since I was security team chief, I stole data from the company. Yo, how does he know that? He shouldn't know that. Kane Bullard had yet to forgive young Mr. Delight, which is why he sent him that letter upon mistakenly believing he was the thief. Here's the file that we discovered in Mr. Bullard's office. Evidence that Mr. Bullard was receiving money through blackmail. However, isn't this a bit odd? Why did the defendant play Mr. Bullard the money, even though he wasn't actually Master Mask? On that point, there was an unfortunate bit of chance. Do you really think this story's gonna hold up? That assertion is not merely of my own, I'm afraid. What do you mean? I have here a memo from Ron Delight's wife, Desiree Delight. Ronnie thinks he's Master Mask. Don't you feel sorry for him? Please don't me think too badly of him. Well, Mr. Trite. Was he trying to act like Mr. Delight just now? I thought he was actually pretty convincing. Thanks, Maya. That is why Mr. Delight saw it fit to kill Kane Bullard. Now that's just your imagination talking. Come now, Sir Lawyer. I'm afraid imagination isn't the right word for it. This is a deduction, the result of carefully applied reasoning. Can we hear that careful reasoning for ourselves? Absolutely not. It's patent pending. It's a long story and better say for another time. Very well, another time. Those so-called long stories aren't usually all that long. At least not in my experience. You're gonna try and connect Detective Atmey to Mr. Bullard, right? Yeah, that's right. Hopefully it won't require surgery either. In that case, you'll have to talk about the blackmail. That's true. Was that blackmail letter really intended for Ron? So, like, is it gonna give me something different now? Oh, well, let me press further. Because, I mean, I get it. I don't know. Let's just fucking shoot. Mind if I ask you a few questions, Detective Atmey? Well, if it's just a few, I guess it's alright. When you said this letter was addressed to Ron Delight, I couldn't help but notice one major contradiction. Contradiction? The dreaded C word. I don't know where a walking contradiction like you gets off saying things like that. You're one to talk. At times like these, men are made to express themselves with their fists. In the words of a great and wise scholar, the only weapons I need are these fists o' mine. Why don't you show us what you've got there, Junior? Indeed! Time to man up, Mr. Wright. Show us the contradicting evidence in the content of the blackmail letter. I don't... Red diamond. Is the ring supposed to be the tear? But... I mean, if it's not looking, because I mean, I want to present the red diamond part, because that's supposed to be his ring, because they even specifically mentioned it earlier. But I'm gonna try this? I don't know, something in my brain just tells me this is correct. Ah! A little 1-2 punch like that wouldn't even faze me. I think you mean 1-2 punch. Mr. Wright. Probably thinking things through a little more if I find fault with others. I don't, like... Do I present the letter again? And then I cannot... There's gotta be something... Like, I don't know if it's supposed to present the letter again, and then it'll let me pick the line? Like, the mechanics here are just all fucked up. Because, I mean, you wouldn't assume you present the same thing twice. That doesn't make any sense. Like, on a mechanical level. That's actually it? No? Do I present Luke in the ring? Like, I just want to get to the ring. But I don't know how to get to the ring. It's just a lot of, like, we're lost in the muck of, like, I don't know how to get the, it's like I know the answer, I just don't know how to get the game to recognize that I know the answer, which is, like, always the worst part. Where the hell are we? This is like, oh, this is like way far back. BRB. Alright, we're back. We're supposed to present the evidence again. I did try just presenting his profile and it didn't work. I think I know the answer. I think the answer is, this. Actually, now that I look about it, shit. I was thinking that, like, his ring isn't shown in this photo. But I don't know if that's just because it's obscured by him closing his hand or not. Because, I mean, it's the ring, but I don't know how to get to the ring. That's actually it. I mean, part of me kind of likes that. Part of me fucking hates it. I don't know. I don't know if I like or hate it more. But it's definitely a mix of the two. I just really feel like the way the prompt should have been is you just pick the sentence of the blackmail letter that is off. And you just pick the one about the ring. That makes way more mechanical sense than this. Even though I do kind of like the idea of noticing that he doesn't have the ring in that picture. I don't know. Like, I think on like a... I'm always so conflicted about these games. Like on some level, I'm glad that they're not just pure kinetic visual novels with no gameplay elements, but at the same time, I'm also like, the gameplay elements are sometimes bad and frustrate me, and I'm like, maybe they shouldn't have been there in the first place. Like, I'm basically like 50-50 on like at the same time. I don't know. It contains a picture of the Tear of Emanon, the stolen jewel. What about it? Problem is this jewel's color. Color? I'm not much for discussing color myself. According to the clipping, the color of the stolen jewel was blue. However, in the blackmail letter, a totally different jewel is mentioned. I'll take that red diamond you received the other day. Red? Which means the red diamond described in the blackmail letter is not the Tear of Emanon the Master Mask stole at all. Well, that had never even been brought up before. Like, Phoenix, you're kind of getting ahead of yourself. Like, that had never been mentioned. And your point is, Mr. Trite? You're trying to say that this blackmail letter was intended for someone else? That is what you're trying to say, right, Trite? That is what you're trying to say, right, Mr. Wright? Well, that is what you're trying to say, right, Nick? Yes. Correct. Right. This is actually who Kane Bullard was blackmailing. Naturally, it was you, Detective Atmey. You have some sort of basis for that claim? You have been personally involved in every single Master Mask case. And in the last case, you recovered what was stolen. And received a jewel as your reward. A jewel? Did they mention that? I mean, that seems like very vaguely familiar, but I feel like that was mentioned like in passing like 8 hours ago. Did they actually expect you to remember that? Probably the one wrapped conspicuously around your finger. The red diamond ring! That is the diamond referred to in the letter, which means that Kane Bullard wrote the letter in order to blackmail you. Order in the court! Order, I say! Seems you've gone too far with your childish pranks, Mr. Trite. Uh-oh, don't like the way you said that. Kane Bullard blackmailing Luke Atmey? Are you for real? Yes, I am. Nick, come on, stand up to him. Then answer me this. The Blackmail Letter contains the following passage. If you don't want your identity revealed to the world. Yes, it certainly does. Kane Bullard threatened to make Luke Atmey's identity public knowledge. An identity he wanted to keep a secret? So just what was that identity? Atmey killed Kane Bullard because he was afraid of his secret becoming known. What was the identity he wanted to keep secret? Well, it was that he was blackmailing Master Mask, or he was the one getting him to steal stuff, but I don't... And don't we have something that... Like, Ron's testimony or something? Yeah, okay, so we do have this at least. This is what it all comes down to, Nick. The identity that Luke Atmey... A blackmailer. Luke Atmey was a blackmailer. It's not really like a blackmail, right? He was kind of just like hiring him to do stuff. Well, I can't remember. Was it mentioned that he was going to out him? Because the very first case, Ron did on his own. Yeah, okay.
Objection!
Hey now, isn't that a little different from what you've been saying? You said Kane Bullard was the one blackmailing Luke Atmey. You saying that Atmey was blackmailing someone else on top of that? You have to admit, that does sound a little odd. It's not odd, it's the only thing that makes any sense. Kane Bullard was blackmailing Luke Atmey? But Rhonda Light was also being blackmailed by a certain someone. So did you start receiving blackmail letters after this incident? Yes, just a few days after the Tear of Imonon heist. After that, I started getting the plans in the mail. I received plans from some very kind person, incredibly detailed plans. Detailed plans? In which case, that would mean that Rhonda Light was actually Master Mask. That's what we are claiming. Someone else came up with the plans and had Mr. Delight steal his targets for him. And that someone was none other than Luke Atmey. Silence! Okay, you may continue. Now I see. It's all becoming clear. What is? When you were in grade school, you received the same report card every year. Careless with the tendency to jump to conclusions. Am I wrong? I actually just said C-. How did you... You say that I, Luke Atmey, was blackmailing Rhonda Light? In which case, I would naturally know all about his relationship to Master Mask. Well, yes. Rhonda Light started receiving plans from his second crime onward, correct? Which means I learned of his identity when he committed that first crime. Good point. You certainly couldn't have blackmailed him otherwise. In that case, let's see some hot, bitter evidence. During the first crime, how did Luke Atmey know that Rhonda Light was Master Mask? I mean, it's either the clipping or the brooch. I mean, it's gotta be the clipping, man. I think I see it. See what? When you were in grade school, you received the same report. Oh my god, how is this wrong? It's a lot of mischief trying to be the center of attention. What do you mean? Okay, never mind. I thought that was like a joke. Lead up to? This newspaper clipping. It has a picture of you and Rhonda Light in his guard uniform. It seems that Master Mask didn't just disappear into thin air. He just took off his outfit and hid it in a bucket. They're called trash cans. That sounds far too stupid to be true. Correct. It is really dumb. With tricks like that, he couldn't fool a baby, let alone an ace detective. And that's when you figured it out, Mr. Atmey. That's when you learned that under his mask, Master Mask was really Rhonda Light. What the? Wasn't he supposed to be Master Mask? Not only that, it looks like he wasn't even an ace detective. I can't believe it. He was just a slimy blackmailer. What a fraud trying to put something ace detective and, like, the text went away instantly? Oh, why you? How do you expose me like that? Why, I mean, I never blackmailed anyone in my life. I'm a famous and proud ex-detective, and I'm also Master Mask. Why can't you understand that? I'm afraid you are neither a proud thief nor an ace detective. You're a blackmailer and a murderer. That is your true identity. Why, you? How dare you? I could never fall to such lowly depths. Why not try doing something to yourself with that big mouth of yours? You are real fools. Fools, I say, none of you can compare to my genius, so I'm just jealous. So, go on, describe to me as something ace detective can I handle blackmail, murder, threats. I get away with all of it. Is enough to make one laugh. Can I sue this game for what it just did to my lungs? It would seem we finally arrived at the real answer. That was quite a performance by Mr. Atmey. Bailiff, please prepare a cell for Mr. Atmey. And we still haven't technically proven that he killed Kane. A hammer that strikes too fast has no time to aim. What do you mean? I'm already prepared to deliver my ruling. I got my hammer and everything. Allow me to say one thing. I will be the one to judge. But that's my job. It's my name. I'm named Judge. I'm Judge from the Judge family. We come from a long line of judges. You don't get much more in your face than that. It appears that your claws weren't quite sharp enough, Mr. Wright. What do you... It's true that you've proven a lot of things. Things like Luke Atmey was a filthy blackmailer. And that he wasn't at Lordly Taylor the night of the murder. That's right, that's why he was the one who killed Mr. Bull. But... because we still don't know why Ron had the letter. I mean, it could have been that, like, instead of sending the normal blackmail letter, it got, like, missent or something. I don't know, but we still have to answer that. We still don't really know what the hell happened with the sword. I mean, I assume it was what was used to kill Kane, but... because if the whole thing about him fighting Master Mask was made up, then... we really don't know why that got back to the scene of the crime, or how that got back there. What's that? Just because he wasn't at the warehouse doesn't mean he was at the murder scene. Therefore, if you can't prove that this pitiful excuse for a man was a KB security, then I don't see how a verdict can be delivered. No, wait, no way! Order in the court. Well, Mr. Wright. This is it. This is the final round. Gotta prove that Atmey was at Bullard's office on that night. But can you really prove that? That's long enough, Mr. Wright. I want to hear your answer. That night, Luke Atmey was at KB Security, and the defense? We can prove it, but, you know. The defense can prove it, with evidence. Are you sure? Ah, don't you worry, I'll watch over you. As you break down and fall to pieces. Very well then, let's see this proof. You wouldn't know it lives in Canada. Proof that Luke Atmey was at KB Security that night. I don't friggin' know, man. The sword. This is the proof. What the fuck are you talking about, dude? That's stupid. Go away. Okay. However, I'm not so foolish to think I'll pass your evidence here. It's time you've learned the true flavor of life. The flavor of my special Godot blend number 49. Well, Mr. Wright. I mean, when I said I had proof, I didn't mean, like, immediately. I just meant, like, you know, of course, we're gonna keep pushing. Come on, don't give up now. Can't prove it. I can't prove it. Just as I thought. I kind of, like, assumed it didn't matter. You know? Like, because, I mean, they've done that same prompt, like, 8 times in the past, where they ask if you can prove something, and then it doesn't actually really matter if you say yes or no. It just kind of keeps moving on. I didn't really expect it was going to immediately prompt me for evidence. Objection! Unfortunately, that's as far as you go, Mr. Wright. What do you mean? I won't allow for any more testimony, that's what I mean. What? Have you forgotten? Luke Atmey is here after he interrupted his own trial, and you have failed to prove that he committed the murder. I think it's time for this witness to return to his own trial and face his guilty verdict as mastermind, but we've already established he's not, though. Well, Sir Lawyer, it seems that love wins out in the end after all. I, the ace detective, as well as Master my verdict will verify that. Just as Rhonda Lights will verify that he is the true murderer. I declare with the full force of my ace detectiveness. Order in the court. That's enough deliberation over this witness. I can't believe this. At this rate, Ron is... Don't give up now, Nick. We still have tomorrow. We can look for more evidence and... By then, it'll be too late. Huh? Why? Double jeopardy. What are the basic rules of any court of law? It wouldn't be double jeopardy, though. He wouldn't be... He's not being found innocent of murder if we let him go. Should a defendant be tried and found innocent in court, we're just letting him go. We're not actually declaring him innocent. That defendant cannot be tried again for the same crime. This is a fundamental rule of all courts. And it applies to this witness as much as it applies to anyone else. Mr. Atmey will be found guilty in a matter of minutes. Guilty as Master Mask, which means, but like, we just proved he's not Master Mask. He will be innocent as far as the murder of Kane Bullard is concerned. No way! The fact that you were unable to prove Mr. Atmey's guilt of that crime here means that he will never again be tried as Kane Bullard's murderer. What? Letting a witness go is not the same as declaring them innocent. Like, not even close, but I'll roll with it. And there's nothing I can possibly do to win. Even if Ron is claimed to be innocent, real killer Luke Atmey will go free. You have cross-examined every statement the witness has made here today, and as long as there's no more testimony, I'm afraid I have to declare that there will be no further questioning of this witness. We'll see how this all shakes out and probably bring the chapter trial case to a close next time. I'm Extra Cheesy 87. Stay tuned for the next part. And bye, guys.